And welcome to a new episode of The Simpsons Did It. I'm your host, Steven Skolansky.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
And this episode, we're going to have a flashback again.
Ooh.
We're going back to the future. No. We're going back to the past.
We are. Hey, what was your first word?
Homer. No, I don't think that was my first word. I don't know.
Do you actually know?
I don't know. Do you know? Did Mom ever tell you?
I know I asked Mom many moons ago. I believe it was Mama, but it could have been Dada.
Yeah.
It was one of those two.
It's usually one of the two.
What was Elliot's first word, Homer?
No, it was Panda.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
He loved that damn panda so much. So much more than me or Shay.
Oh boy.
But Panda, man. So yeah, kids say the darndest first words, I guess. So out there, as you know, we love our fans and we love hearing. If you guys know your first word, feel free to send us messages on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just let us know. Let us know what your first word was. Maybe we'll compile a list and we'll let everyone know. Yeah. Everyone during our next recording, we'll let everyone know what their first words were.
So, this week, we are talking Season 4, Episode 10. We get to learn Lisa's first word, and we also get to learn Bart's first word.
Yep. And so this is kind of
funny.
Maggie's
first word.
And Maggie's first word, maybe. And so it is kind of funny because I love how they're doing it, because the first flashback episode was when Bart was born.
Yep.
And that was more of, oh my God, Marge is pregnant. We're having a kid. This episode, yes, Marge gets pregnant and Lisa's born, but there's like a more of a story behind it, which is kind of cool. I'm glad they just didn't do like a birth story for Lisa. They attached it to something directly, which was kind of cool.
Now, I have a question, and maybe this should wait towards the middle part of the story. But if I remember correctly, in this episode, all the way through the end, in the flashback, Homer still has all of his hair.
Holy crap. I think that's a yes.
And there is an episode where they do a flashback of every time Homer learns that Marge is pregnant.
He rips out his hair.
Yeah. So,
well, Homer didn't rip out his hair. He was actually quite happy, which is kind of weird. So why don't we put a pin in that, and we'll focus on that once that rolls around. But yes, you are correct. There is an episode out there that every time he learned he was having a kid, he ripped out more and more hair. So we didn't catch that in this flashback.
No. So this aired on December 3rd, 1992. This is the second to last episode of the 92 year.
Yep. And it is kind of sad. I'm sure you guys all know what's coming, but no Christmas episode this year.
No,
it is kind of sad. It's been
Christmas. Bart was too bad of a boy. Bart was just too bad.
Yeah,
he was so bad at ruining Christmas for everybody in Springfield.
Well, what are you talking about? We haven't had a Christmas episode since Santa's Little Helper.
So Bart's just been bad for 3 years.
I guess. Hopefully next season we get a Christmas episode, because I really want to see some Christmas in the Simpsons world.
Yeah. So recap of this episode: in a flashback, we see the birth of Lisa and young Bart's jealousy towards her. Yep. So I've actually talked to Mom about this, and I've asked her how you were when I was born. And she says you were very helpful. You weren't jealous, and you were a good older brother.
Yep. But I almost believe, and this is kind of what I've noticed around families that I've noticed around is, I think it was our age gap. I think me being 4, I was old enough, I was talking, I had, a vocabulary, and I was probably doing chores and other stuff around the house before you were born. Whereas in this instance, Bart's 2. So he's entering we learned he's entering his terrible 2s as Lisa is born. And I think that mentality of a kid, when you're bringing someone else on, just kind of throws a wrench in it. And I've seen so many couples and stuff out in the world where they're on their third kid, and they're all only like a year and a half apart. I'm like, how the hell do you do that crap?
Very carefully. They do it very carefully.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
So our chalkboard gag this week, teacher is not a leper.
Are you sure? Because I think last week we learned that there was a leper island.
There was a leper island.
And maybe Bart thought, hey, I remember Leper Island. I'm going to tell my teacher to go to Leper Island.
Because she's a leper?
And now this week he's writing, my teacher's not a leper on the board. See how they're connecting these chalkboard gags to all these episodes?
And actually, when we get to the monorail episode, that chalkboard gag actually comes true in a later episode as well. So, but we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. I also noted, so Steve said a few weeks ago that he noticed that the sidewalk outside of the school when Bart leaves is green. I have not noticed it up until this episode where, yes, the sidewalk was green for me in this episode. I don't know if it's your TV. I don't know if it's my TV.
Well, I don't think it's a TV thing. I think it's just the animation. Because when we go into the school, when we see Bart writing on the chalkboard, the sidewalk is clearly like concrete.
Grayish.
Yeah, grayish concrete color. And then when he jumps out the window, it is stark green. It's like plutonium rod green.
But remember the one episode we talked about, it didn't show up for me. Like I rewound it like three times and it never showed up for me.
Well, we are going to keep an eye on it for you people because this is the type of stuff you want to hear about on The Simpsons Did It. The sidewalk is not going to be green anymore.
And I'm going to guess that it's the plutonium.
Right.
Anyways, so our couch gag this week, the Simpsons, come into their house, they get off the couch, they form a line with some dancers, the wall behind the couch goes upwards, the couch goes to the side, we get some circus dancers and elephants and jugglers and magicians and trapeze artists. And it's kind of funny if you look in the background, Santa's little helper is there and walking on his hind legs.
Yep.
And this is the most commonly used elongated intro. They've used it, I think, 5 times in. And
you want to know what's really funny about. So this is the first instance of it, obviously.
Yes.
But what's really funny is all of our guests that we've had on this show so far have all commented.
Oh,
remember how we always talk about repeats? And they're like, oh, remember this one? And I think the most common time we told people for this intro was the April Fool's episode, correct?
Yes, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, the April Fool's, that's the first introduction of this intro. False. It is Lisa's first word. It's the first time we see this elongated intro.
And to be perfectly honest, I honestly thought it was not this episode.
I know, so did I. I saw this intro and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. What's going on? But to be fair, I mean, obviously we've all been watching The Simpsons since we were kids, 32 years ago. And to be fair, I mean, most of us probably don't rewatch Simpsons on our daily lives. We don't. We remember things, like our mind kind of tricks us into remembering, but unfortunately our mind sometimes tricks us into thinking things are wrong. So,
also known as the Mandela effect.
I don't think Mandela effect's when you think it's Bernstein Bears when it's Bernstein Bears. This is just not remembering which episode started this. And it's Bernstein Bears, so get off it.
Anyways.
Yes. All right. So the episode opens and Marge is trying to get Maggie to talk by saying really stupid words like Baba or Mama.
Mama's not a stupid word.
Okay.
Baba is.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think it's like bottle. But one thing that we were always taught, and maybe this is just education and stuff that kind of continues on, as new parents, we were taught, don't talk to kids in kiddie voices like Baba, Mama, Goo Goo Gaga, stuff like that. Just talk like you normally talk. Kids will pick up on it and get a really good. And I think that's why Elliot's a really good talker, because
he is a really good talker.
We didn't use these dumb words, but in like the 80s, 90s, early on, it was all the cutesy baby talk to babies. And I
will say the first time I came to visit you when Elliot was talking, I could hardly understand him. I can understand him a little bit better now, but it's still a little hard. I mean, he's 3, but he'll get there.
Yeah, and so Bart was trying to get Maggie to say, get bent. Get bent. And Marge,
Did you ever try that with me when I was trying to?
I don't know. That's a long time ago. But I hope I did. I mean, if I had it. Maybe that's why we have such potty mouths, because
Yeah, maybe.
But
Or all the TV we watch.
that too. But yeah, Marge yells at him and says no, and Bart's like, "Well, Mr. Rogers says it all the time."
No, Bart. Nice try though.
What Mr. Rogers is Bart watching?
And
it's funny.
What's that guy on Sesame Street? Wasn't there a last name Rogers on Sesame Street?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's Mr. Hooper.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, so what's kind of funny to think about? This episode actually tells us that PBS is in the Simpsons universe.
It does.
I originally thought,
well, there's a parody episode of PBS, isn't there?
That I don't know, but there's the episode where Homer goes to that island and becomes a missionary. That's when I think of when PBS was introduced into the Simpson world. But actually, this episode introduces the PBS into the Simpsons world.
Yeah.
And so Homer goes down and tries to get Maggie to say daddy because his other two kids won't do it.
Well, Lisa calls him dad now. We'll get into that.
Yep. And so he's like, Lisa's like, Bebop. I was expecting her to say rock steady. That would have been awesome. I would have laughed.
That would have been a great reference.
That would have been awesome. And then Bart kind of in the background, shove it. And then Lisa again, Kitty. So I mean, everyone's really trying to get Maggie to talk. Everyone's really trying to get it. Yeah. And Maggie takes out her pacifier. She's about ready to say her first word, maybe, and then she burps. Kind of like a Barney. It was almost like a Barney burp. Yeah. And Homer's like, yay, Maggie said her first word. It was burlap. And
no, Homer. No.
That's close.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. And then, Lisa's like, well, it's better to remain silent and be thought a fool to speak and to remove all doubt.
And that, my friends, is an Abraham Lincoln quote.
Oh, I didn't know that until you wrote it. Yep. And so Homer's like, I don't get it. Quick, say something to make him think you're not stupid. Takes one to know one. Swish. That was that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we ever really forced our kid to try to say a first word. I think it was just, hey, when it comes,
happened naturally.
And same with like walking. Like we didn't kind of force our kid to walk. Or
I feel like a lot of nowadays parents don't really force their kids to walk. I think they just kind of learn it because a lot of my friends who are my age who actually have kids, they post a lot of baby videos and kid videos, and a lot of the baby videos, the kids just walked by themselves. The parents didn't really try to help.
Yeah. And so Marge has a magazine about, kind of like what a lot of parents in the 90s, 80s, 90s, I'm sure there was the parenting books and magazines. And it says Maggie might need corrective tongue extender if she isn't talking by the age of 1. And Maggie is currently 11 months old.
Yes.
Now, I mean, my kid might have been saying weird words at around 10, 11 months, which I guess is normal. But
yeah,
I mean, realistically, any form of real talking is still 2. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a ways off.
Yeah.
And so Bart asked what his first word was, and we get a flashback where Homer and Marge are in bed and they're snuggling.
Yes.
And baby Bart walks in and sees it, says, "Ay caramba." And Bart's first word was uttered at 10 months old.
Okay.
So, I mean, Bart was an early riser. Didn't keep his smarts really past that. But
remember, it's the Simpson gene.
Yep. And then I like how Marge's like, I don't remember that.
God.
Probably because she wants. Well, I mean, Bart's 10 months old, and apparently he got out of his crib and walked in, and he literally walked in, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I guess my kid was kind of walking close to 10 months.
Yeah.
With help, but walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. But, Lisa's like, well, what's my first word? And, Lisa's first word is a cute story. And Lisa and Bart are chanting to have mom and,
No, just mom.
Just
tell
mom.
it, mom. Tell it, mom.
That's right. And then Homer chimes in, yeah, tell it, mom. Tell it, mom. And so this story begins in that unforgettable spring of 1983. Miss Pac-Man struck a blow for women's rights. A young Joe Piscopo taught us how to laugh. So, yeah.
Yeah, for anybody out there who's wondering, Miss Pac-Man came out in 1982. So that is something that got correct in this episode.
Yeah, was it a blow for women's right because she
ate balls?
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, there's Pac-Man, so now there's Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And so and we find out before Lisa was born, they lived on the Lower East Side of Springfield. I thought Springfield was like a town of like 3,000 people or something like that.
I don't know. It was like maybe it sounds like they were kind of, referencing New York, I guess. Because, the Lower East Side of New York, apartments, stuff like that. But good pull nonetheless. But I like to point out that because it's the spring of 1983, that was the year I was born. So,
it is. It is the year. I figured you were going to bring that up at some point.
I know. This flashback, I might be in this flashback maybe. I'm not sure. They might reference that I was born also in the spring of 1980.
Yeah, we'll find out. So it is Springfield, 1983. We don't actually have a month, but we do know it's the spring because Marge had said spring.
Yep.
We see a guy selling an ice cream sandwich.
Well, yeah, maybe not in spring. I guess that's more of a summer thing, ice cream cart, stuff like that. But I like how he was talking about oatmeal raisin ice cream sandwiches, and I was like, damn straight, that'd be a good one.
Oh, gross. Why would you put raisins in cookies or ice cream? And what's wrong with you people?
Well, okay, you don't like oatmeal raisin, like cinnamon oatmeal? Like oatmeal?
No.
Well, then you're done.
I like cinnamon. I like the cinnamon brown sugar oatmeal. I like sweet. I'm not a big raisin person. I'll eat raisins by themselves, but not in like cookies and
that's just weird. What about ants on a log? Will you eat raisins on ants on a log?
I did like ants on a log as a kid. I will say, actually, it was probably more the peanut butter than really anything else on the freaking log. But so, there's kids outside and they're like, hey, let's go play stickball. And then they run to the arcade.
That was great.
I was not expecting. Now, I suppose, Miss Pac-Man came out in 82, so there would be arcade machines in 83.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we get a couple other video games. I couldn't make out to the one to the left. Was it Mumbledy Peg?
Mumbledy Peg, yes.
Okay, what is that?
I have no clue.
If anybody out there who knows what Mumbledy Peg is, please let us know. And then the other arcade to the right was Kick the Can.
Yep,
which is amazing.
Game. Yeah,
that is great. So now we cut to Marge. She's on the stoop with Bart, and she's talking to a couple of her lady friends, and they're talking about MASH.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, Klinger. They talk about Klinger, and they talk about one of the friend doctor of Alan Alda's character. Like, oh, he's just so hot. And then like Klinger. And
yeah.
MASH is it hasn't aged particularly well, but again, it was the 80s. So now we hear Homer singing. He's coming home from work saying, girls just want to have fun.
Which is so weird.
By Cyndi Lauper. Now, here's the issue with that. Now, granted, this came out in 92, but that song was not released until September of 83. So there's no way that Homer should be singing this song.
Okay, bad Jeff Martin, the writer for this episode. You should know better.
I get that they wanted an upbeat song. It is spring, but maybe choose a song that fits your time period.
Yep. Or, it was definitely the time period, just a few months off.
Yes. That's now maybe it's possible Homer knows Cyndi Lauper and he knew about the song.
Yeah, he got an inside track on it.
Yeah. So then, he's singing along. He goes up and Bart as a baby greets Homer and he's like, "Hi, Homer." And Homer is like, "No, call me Daddy." And he's like, Homer. Daddy, Homer. And then Homer, is this the first time Homer's ever choked Bart?
Yeah, but I know we called the first time Homer's choked Bart.
We did. But
wasn't it wait, didn't he choke Bart out of the womb?
No, he was going to.
Okay.
Because he lit his tie on fire.
Yeah.
And Marge's just like, why would he do that? He's
Right.
just born. So I'm thinking this is the earliest time that Homer's ever choked Bart.
Yep.
And when he calls Homer, he calls him Domer and then laughs. So is that a cross between Daddy and Homer?
It is.
Domer.
Oh, Bart's a smart one.
And so now we kind of get a montage where Bart jumps onto Homer off of the TV.
Oh, my kid will jump off his bed and chairs and try to get me. Yeah, kids will do that, man.
Got to be careful with that. And then I love this scene. So we cut to Bart eating dinner. He's eating spaghetti, and as kids will do, he's got sauce all over his face and noodles everywhere.
I got an Elliot spaghetti sauce picture.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Oh yeah.
Now, do you have a picture of yourself as an adult with spaghetti sauce all over you?
No, I
never
took it.
Because that's how Homer eats his spaghetti as well.
No, I never took a selfie of me like that.
No. And then we get a third shot where Bart is out on the clothesline, swinging from it like in a circular motion, naked. And then Homer's like, "Oh, it'll be okay. He'll tire himself out soon." And then we cut to like nighttime, and he's still swinging.
Yep.
And just
they're like, "Oh, he'll tire himself out." Whee!
I don't think we've ever gotten to that point as babies.
Well, it's funny because I mean, my kid, and if he doesn't take a nap, he gets really cranky at night. But sometimes he'll actually get to a point where the tiredness becomes craziness, and he won't fall asleep. And he's tired. He's absolutely tired. But his tiredness becomes crazy, and he doesn't want to fall asleep.
Yeah. So they finally get him in. Marge is tucking him in bed, and Bart's like, "Tell me a bedtime story." And so he's like, she's like talking about a king and queen or like a prince and princess. And like they live happily ever after. And Bart is like, "Well, then what happened?" Marge is like, "They had 30 sons and 30 daughters." And Bart's like, "Well, what are their names?" So Marge starts listing off all the names. And as she's doing that, she falls asleep.
Yep.
So, Bart, even as a baby, Bart was a very tricky customer. My roommates were listening to their phones too loud.
The phones? If it's the TV, okay. Man, phone, come on. All right, anyway.
So, Bart's a really tricky customer even as a baby.
Yep. And so after Marge falls asleep, Bart decides to turn on the TV. And Johnny Carson, was it?
I'm pretty sure it was Carson.
Carson, yeah. And he does this, "Hey-o." And Bart repeats them because kids like repeating what they hear on TV.
I got your kid to say, "Oh no," by the way. That was me.
Yeah. And so now we get another, Bart antic where,
oh my God.
He's sitting on Homer's lap and he's like, he does the "I got your nose." And Bart's like, "I got your wallet." And then flushes it down the toilet.
Oh my God. Bart is still a horrible kid.
He's 2, man. He's terrible too.
Okay, your son is 3.
Yeah.
Was he bad as a 2-year-old?
I mean, more on the just crankiness side of being 2. He never really, stole stuff and tried flushing it down the toilet. Because I told him not to touch my stuff.
Count your blessings.
Yep. And so then Marge walks into the bathroom and announces that they're going to have twice as much love. And Homer asks if they're going to start doing it in the morning. Oh, Homer, that's great.
I get what Marge is saying when she says, they're going to have they're multiplying by another baby. But when my brain heard, she's like, "Oh, we're going to have twice as much love." My first instinct was, you're having triplets? Because there's technically 3 of them.
Yeah.
So if they're going to have twice as much love, they're going to have 3 babies.
Yep.
But I get that, they're going to double the babies.
Yep. And, Homer just wants sex in the morning.
Yep.
And then Marge tells Homer that she's pregnant.
And he doesn't rip out his hair.
No. And he also says, "Oh, that's good." Like,
yeah.
He was actually happy to have another kid. And then Bart takes Homer's keys and flushes those down the toilet. So,
do you really want another kid, Homer? Really? Or maybe he thinks the next one's going to be good.
Well, Lisa was good, so
Yeah,
he's not wrong.
Yeah.
And so then Bart, obviously, his imagination starts rolling, and he's decided, feels like what it's going to be like to have a baby around, and he blames the baby for drawing on the walls. uses it as a prop for a ramp, which I need to get my kid on that. That sounds like fun. And uses,
it's probably not safe.
No, probably not. And uses the baby to clean up spilt milk. Which,
like literally picks up the baby, uses the diaper, and cleans up
good
the milk.
Good idea. Bart's a thinker. That's a good idea. Now, it's kind of funny because, that's kind of what Bart's idea of having a kid is, which, I mean, that's not not necessarily horrible, but,
Yeah.
And then, so in the background, so one of the things I wanted to point out is, so the next scene, we're seeing them talking around the table and, deciding for a new home. And we see in the background, there's a picture in the kitchen hanging on the wall of Abe Simpson. It's a picture of him as an old man in current time.
Correct.
But in 1984, or I guess 83. I guess I don't know Lisa's pregnancy where it stands, but it could be 83 or 84 by now.
Well, no, because remember the story starts in the spring of 83. Yeah. So they probably got pregnant in like April, May, June of 83.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know how far along she was, but we learn that when Homer goes to talk to Abe about getting money in a little bit, he's, gray. He's not old. Like he's got gray hair, but he's got actual hair. So he's not to that point. But yes, in the photo in the kitchen, it's old Abe.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we get, Marge saying they're going to need a bigger place. And Homer's like, oh, I have it all figured out. No, we won't. I've got it all figured out. The baby can have Bart's crib and Bart will sleep with us until he's 21. And Marge's like, won't that warp him? My cousin Frank didn't. You don't have a cousin Frank. Oh, yeah, you don't have a cousin Frank. He became Francine back in 76. Then he joined that cult. I think his name is Mother Shaboo now. I really want to hear the story of Mother Shaboo.
Yeah, so either Marge doesn't know everything about Homer or Homer made up a cousin Frank.
Yeah, I don't So cousin is a kid of a brother, and so we know Homer's brother is Herb, and Herb doesn't have kids.
Yeah.
And Homer doesn't have, right? So everything we've learned so far, Homer doesn't have a sister or any other siblings for that matter.
No. It would be, no. The cousin, so like our cousin, so
it's a brother or sister kid.
Yes. So it would be his dad's brother or sister's kid.
But Abe doesn't have a... Oh,
we don't know. We don't know if Abe has any brothers or sisters. We don't know anything about Abe's backstory. Not up until this point.
Well, not up to. I'm just saying we could talk about future. I mean, come on, they've been out. I don't think we've ever learned that Abe has any siblings.
I thought Abe had a sister.
Did he?
Let's put a pin in this, and when we get 10, 11 seasons more into this, we'll come back.
Okay, because I don't think Homer has a cousin. I don't think Abe has any siblings, which means that those siblings don't have any kids, and Homer doesn't have a real cousin. So,
or wait, what about Homer's mom?
But she's not as well. I guess it does. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know much about her anyway. She runs off.
Yep. So maybe he does have a cousin Frank who decided to change genders and then join a cult.
Okay, I want to learn more about this cousin.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
All right, come on, Simpson writers out there. Come on, let's go back to these earlier seasons and take these stories that we want to know about and put them in these. I bet people would be gladly watching all these new seasons.
Oh, I would.
If they pulled these old stories out of these old episodes.
Yeah.
All right. So Marge decides to leave Bart with her sisters, and so her and Homer can go house hunting.
Which,
I mean, it's probably a good idea. You don't want Bart hanging around when you're going house hunting. Because me and Jay always went house hunting when Elliot was at daycare. Because definitely a lot easier. Yes. So the Patty and Selma offer Bart $1 if he sings the "I'm a Little Teapot." And so, Bart
into a rendition of the Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Yep. So he's like, "I'm a Little Teapot" and the Itsy Bitsy Spider. 2 songs, Bart's spout medley, which Patty and Selma pay him to sing. So smushes them together.
Yes.
one big giant song.
Yep.
And so Marge and Homer decide to use the realty company Stinky Fish Realty. With a name this bad, we've got to be good. And one other thing before we get a little bit further, the one thing I do want to point out, Homer and Marge were driving around in Homer's car, from the green car from high school.
Okay.
In the way he was. So
Yes.
So that's kind of cool. Homer hasn't given up on the car yet. And do we ever learn how he got his pink car? I don't think we ever learned how he got his pink car.
I don't know. We'll have to put a pin in that.
Yeah, I'd like to learn how Homer got his pink car. That'd be kind of fun. And so, the only houses that the Simpsons can afford, according to the realtor, are the Rat's Nest houses.
Yeah.
The Rat's Nest area is the only houses that Homer...
Well, I mean, Homer works, Marge is a stay-at-home wife. We don't know how much... And Homer isn't at the plant yet, is he?
Yeah, because remember, he started working there when Bart was born.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
So then they go see the murder house. Because, I mean, they're...
Murder houses are cheap.
Yeah, and wasn't it they were wheeling out the body as soon as they showed up, too?
Yeah.
Like, that house just went on the market.
I don't think a realtor is allowed to sell you a house that's still a crime scene.
Probably not. And then the next house they visit is next to a rendering plant. And so I like how the realtor's like, once you get used to the smell of melted hog fat, you'll wonder how you ever did without it. And then Homer does this, hog fat. And then he sneaks over to the plant. And I like how the workers are like, do you guys smell something?
Homer's probably got a different body odor than what the hog fat renders.
No, a worse body
smell.
odor.
Yeah, worse smell. Yeah.
Yep. And so the next house they go to is a houseboat, and it's being sold by the sea captain.
So Homer. So now was it the last episode where it was the all you can eat?
Yep.
So he knew the sea captain.
Oh no, that was Mr. Plow's last episode. New Kid on the Block. So 2 episodes ago.
2 episodes ago. So Homer has met the sea captain before, so they know each other.
That's funny.
So how does he not know Homer is going to eat him out of the restaurant? That sounded really bad. How does he know Homer isn't going to eat all
him
of his
out
food?
at the restaurant?
Yes. How did the sea captain not know that Homer was going to eat all of his food and make him leave?
Well, he didn't know his backstory when he was trying to sell him a house.
That is true.
And so go ahead, next house. What's this next house that they're going to be in?
Well, hold on. Well, before we get to the next house, I love how the sea captain attacks a shark and fights a shark.
Oh yeah, because he's about to eat the houseboat.
Yes. So he's got to protect his property. So the next house is a house full of cats that actually own the house. And so
what do you think? What do you think? Crazy cat lady house?
It might be the crazy cat lady's eventual house.
Yeah, so she was the one that wanted to buy the house. Like, she went over, holy crap, it's a house full of cats. This is totally my house.
Well, didn't we? Now I do remember in the between season 20 and 29, I think there was an episode where we learned how the crazy cat lady becomes the crazy cat.
We do. Yep.
So I don't know. I know it wasn't this house that turned her into the crazy cat lady.
No, she turned into the crazy cat lady somehow. But once we get to that episode, we'll have to fill everyone in.
Yeah, so, and then they go to their current neighborhood and they look at their current house, but it's out of their price range. And so Homer decides to go ask Abe for money.
Which is kind of weird that they're actually in this house. Yeah. You know what I mean? If it's out of their price range, obviously Abe does give them the money, but...
So Abe gives them, now I did some math. Because he has, and as you pointed out, Abe has gray hair here.
Yep.
He has all of his hair. He's not as old as the photo.
Yep.
And Homer says he needs $15,000 to buy a house. So I did the math. This house is going somewhere between $75,000 and $150,000, depending on how much they would be putting down. Because if they're putting 20%,
most people will put down 10 to 15 usually.
So if they're putting down 10%, then this house is a $150,000 house. In the 1980s, this is an expensive house. I tried to look up to see what the
but we also don't know what Springfield technically is, because my one of my friends, she lives like 2.5 hours outside of the Twin Cities. Sure. She got a 5-bedroom, 3-bath like mansion house for like $95,000.
Huh?
Yeah, no joke. You live that far out in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota. You get an amazing house for really cheap.
So, but if they're putting 20% down, it could be $75,000.
Yeah. So I mean, we just don't know the area, because how much was your house?
My house was 170.
So I mean, realistically, I guess technically the Simpson house is definitely bigger than your house.
But don't forget, this is the 21st century, and not the early 1980s.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm assuming early 1980s, a house that's going for 150,000 is probably in a really nice area.
Which it seems like their house kind of is, not in the slums of Springfield as we've seen. So,
and we do learn. So Homer asks Abe to sell his current house, and Abe's like, "I built this house with my bare hands." Homer's like, "No, you did. You won this house on a Cricket 50s game show. Haha! Everybody else got in trouble, and I got off scot-free because Abe narked on everybody."
That's so great. That's awesome.
That's great. So, but now here's the question: don't we see this? We see this house a lot in flashbacks.
We do, yeah. I mean, the hippie flashback, the Simpsons mom.
So we're
Mona Simpson episode. Yeah, we see a lot of flashbacks. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to see if they do any flashbacks after 1984, and if Abe is still living in this house.
Yeah, well, we'll put a pin in that.
Because he is.
Yeah.
So, because if he is, then they lied to us. Yeah. So then Homer, invites Abe to come live with them, and they come back out, and I think Bart asks
Homer how long
about 3 weeks, and all the Simpsons laugh. Like,
well, no one really wanted Grandpa living with them, and they really wanted the money for the house.
That's true. So, that cuts us to a break, and we come back, and Homer offers Maggie a cookie to talk. And then Maggie just points off camera. Homer turns his head and she takes the cookie, and Homer's like, you win this round.
No, round 7.
Oh yeah.
So Homer's tried it 6 other times and failed.
Don't make it wrong. Maggie is smart.
Oh, that's great. That was great.
And so, Lisa wants to continue the story of her first word, but Homer gets sidetracked.
Yep. I'll tell you about the time I got locked in a bank vault with Mr. Mooney. It was another one of my harebrained schemes. Wait a minute. That was a Lucy show.
Oh, God.
Apparently Homer likes I Love Lucy, so,
So, then we cut back to the flashback, and Homer carries Marge across the threshold into the new house. And as they're, walking in, Bart comes in and Bart says, "Homer, this house sucks." And Homer says not to use that word, meaning his first name, not the word sucks.
I know, that was good. That
was a really good joke. And so, Homer, Bart calls Homer again, and Homer chokes Bart again for calling him Homer.
Yep. Yeah. It was, kind of crazy, to see another Bart getting choked out a couple times in an episode. That's nuts. And so we get our first appearance of Ned and Todd and Rod all coming over, and Maude.
No. It was just Ned and Todd.
Oh, was it?
Yes,
oh, you're right.
It was just.
Yeah, they come over to welcome the Simpsons to the neighborhood by, singing a friendly neighborhood welcome song. Jingle,
yeah.
Yep. And I like how Bart does the, who the hell are you? Although I wish he would have said, I'm Bart Simpson, who the hell are you?
Because Todd introduces himself and then, you're right.
Yeah. So it was kind of weird, but I wish they would have used that as the line, but he didn't, so it was kind of sad.
And then Bart pushes Todd over and Todd laughs and is like, I like you. We'll be best friends.
Oh my God. So crazy. And so Ned tells Homer that, hey, if you ever need anything, just ask. And Homer's like, can I have that TV tray? Well, I just bought it.
So my question is, why didn't Ned bring it with him? Like, did he just get back from shopping, see Homer, Marge, and Bart move in? Oh, I gotta go meet the new neighbors, and just happen to have the TV tray?
That's what it looks like.
But why? You put all your stuff away and you come over empty-handed, or with a bottle of wine.
Or yeah, a home housewarming gift. I see when Ned opened the door and had the TV tray. Personally, I thought it was a housewarming gift.
Why would you give anybody a TV tray as a... Well, I mean, it's not a bad housewarming gift, but
no, but it's also the 80s, so,
Yeah, that's true.
Furniture. I mean, I've seen, like, early TV shows from the 80s, 70s, and 80s where it's, like, lamps, like, knickknacks, stuff like that for homes as your housewarming gift. So, hey... But that's what I thought. But Homer keeps the TV tray for 8 years and counting. It was great.
Oh my god! I can't wait for the. I can't wait for this joke to reappear later in this episode.
Yep. And so I love Marge. Now she's recalling. Bart. Entering his terrible twos.
I totally forgot about this
and
scene until I saw it. I love it.
Bart's walking around the house, banging on the pots, just shouting, "I am so great! I am so great!" And then Marge tells him to, stop because, I mean, it's annoying. Marge is pregnant and, Bart's just being...
And it looks like she's on bed rest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want my kid just going completely bonkers yelling while I'm trying to... And then Homer's like, it's not easy to juggle a pregnant wife and a troubled child, but somehow I managed to squeeze 8 hours of TV a day.
God. Oh my god. That's great.
And so Homer and Bart are sitting on the couch and they're watching the Itchy and Scratchy show, which I guess has been around since 83.
Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't the first Itchy and Scratchy wasn't it like the 1940s?
No, 1927.
There we go. So yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it's been around a minute.
Yeah.
And so it's the 100-yard gash.
Oh my
and
God.
Scratchy is running a racetrack, but Itchy nails his tail down, and Scratchy's skeleton comes out of his skin as he runs and wins the race. And then they do the snapshot. Oh, he wins on a box of Wheaties, which is a reference to the Olympic athletes that always got their pictures on the box of Wheaties.
I believe the first one was Jenner. I forget his first name. Well, Caitlyn Jenner, but when she was a dude.
Yeah.
I believe he was the first one. Bruce Jenner. Gotcha. That's who it was.
And so this is also a movie moment. For those of you guys that don't know, the 100-yard gash, the music from the episode is taken from Chariots of Fire and the soundtrack from Veggial's soundtrack.
Interesting.
So, yeah, they put a little mini movie moment in this episode.
Yeah.
And so then we get a title card that reads, "Good luck to our athletes from Itchy and Scratchy, official animated cat and mouse team of the 1984 Olympics." How many cat and mouse? Oh, I guess there's Tom and Jerry, but...
Yeah. So now here's my question. So the 1984 Olympics took place at the end of July, early August. Marge is still pregnant. So in that earlier flashback, when she told Homer she was pregnant, she had to have told him in like the winter, in like November.
Well, I mean, I guess we don't know how far along she was, but in the spring of 1983, so let's say March. Let's say, because spring starts March 21st.
Yes.
So let's say April 1st, she gets pregnant. So she's, I mean, I guess showing really isn't till like 5-6 months. So.
No, because she would have been due in May. Because that's 10 months.
9 months.
So she would have had it.
9 months.
It's actually 10. It's 40 weeks.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know that? It's 40 weeks. It's not 36.
No, Shay was 36. She
well, I mean, it's between 30. It's between 36 and 40. It's between 9-10 months. I've talked to actual doctors about this.
Well, whatever Shay's due date was, Elliot was on time.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully he keeps that up through his life, being on time for things. So anyways.
So then we get a shot of, Krusty and Sideshow Bob on stage, and we see Sideshow Bob with blue hair. So
yeah, it's weird.
I guess he didn't quite get over to the red hair yet.
I do love the Krusty Burger is the official meat-flavored sandwich of the Summer Olympics. Not the official sandwich, the official meat-flavored sandwich.
Yes. Yep.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
I love it. Meat-flavored. I love meat flavored sandwiches. They're the best.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of flash back out and Bart's laughing. It's Krusty funny.
Homer's like,
Duh.
duh.
And so now we get the Krusty Burger scratch and win cards, which were inspired by the promotional game from McDonald's. And the funny thing about it was, it started in the 1984 Olympics, where they reveal prizes and they'd be awarded depending on whether the Team USA scored gold, silver, bronze. And then the prizes were ranged from, free food to cash prizes. And we learned that, just like in this episode, McDonald's lost millions of dollars for paying out on the promotion. And
that's because
the Soviet Union boycott the Olympics.
Yep.
And we all know that the Soviet between 1984. I mean, that the Winter Olympics, so 1986. That was the miracle on ice. And so we all know the Soviets were amazing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Those in the 80s. So the funny thing is I think they did continue, because I remember growing up, I think it was probably around the 92 Olympics when I personally remember the Olympic thing at McDonald's.
I vaguely remember it. I mean, I would have been 5.
They definitely did it for a while. And I think it was probably when I was in high school, when I don't remember it happening anymore.
Well, when did the Monopoly game start? Was that like the mid-90s?
Mid-90s for Monopoly. That ended 2010-ish.
Didn't they bring it back?
They brought it back, and then ended it again because it just wasn't going anywhere. And I haven't seen.
When people cheat the system.
Yeah, I missed the McDonald's thing. That was funny enough. That was the only time I ate McDonald's at a certain point. Was literally for the Monopoly thing. That was it. That was the only time I ever ate at McDonald's.
Interesting.
Yep. And so Krusty finishes the commercial and spits out the burger because he's like, "Oh, I almost got that caught in my throat that time."
So my question is, did he do the commercial live?
Maybe the Krusty show was live back then.
But like, it was a commercial spot. It wasn't part of the show. It was a commercial. No, that was definitely a commercial spot. And I don't think you do commercials live ever.
No, probably not.
Because they're like cut, which means they did a take. So either maybe they showed it on TV and then they kind of showed the aftermath and he didn't do it live, or he did do it live and that's a very risky proposition.
Yep. And so one funny thing that I'd like to point out is, Krusty was like, learns about the whole Soviet thing. And, he was like, well, how much do I stand to lose from this? $44 million. And so one funny thing that we see is, Krusty is upset and he's talking. Well, maybe that was later on when he's talking to everyone about. Was that later on when he was talking to everyone about, I'm going to spit in the burger?
Yeah, that was way later on.
Okay, I got something for that when we get to it.
Okay. So they tried to rig the tickets for the events that the communists usually win. But, since they boycotted the Olympics, Krusty personally stood to lose $44 million.
That was that. Hold on. It was this. So Krusty the Clown is, described as being, so he's handed something from The Wire, when he's the Soviets lost. So Krusty is described as being illiterate. In the 1990 episode, Krusty gets busted, yet he is able to scan and decipher a Wire report handed to him back in 1984 about the Soviets boycotting the Olympics.
So here's the thing. He could either be a working illiterate, which means he still understands, or they lied to us. Well, I'm going to go with, see, we haven't seen anything that would say he's not illiterate.
No, he literally told us in Krusty Gets Busted that he's illiterate.
So maybe he's a working illiterate, which means he can still understand certain things.
But he can't read. He might be able to understand things, but he can't read the words on the page.
Maybe it's just a continuity error.
Bad, Simpsons. Bad.
So after all that, we cut to Bart in his room, and he wants to sleep in the crib. And Homer is like, oh, well, let's try a little reverse psychology. Fine, let the baby sleep in his crib. Let's go, Marge. And then not even a second later, because Bart just stays in the room, Homer runs back in and tries to pull Bart away from the crib, but Bart has a superhuman-like grip on the crib.
Yep. Oh, my kid has a super human-like grip on door frames and stuff when I was trying to carry him around.
Yeah. Kids can be strong, man.
Oh, yeah.
So then we get a couple of shots. So Homer's like, oh, I'll build you a bed, Bart. So we get a couple of shots of Homer building a bed for Bart. And those 2 shots are recycled from Homer at the bat.
Yep. I would notice that when I was watching this episode, I'm like, why is Homer building a bat? Shouldn't he be building a bed?
Well, he was, but they didn't shoot new material, so they just recycled old material.
You mean draw new material?
Sure.
This isn't live action. they didn't shoot anything.
This is not the first instance of them using recycled material either.
No, and we'll point that out as we go along.
Yeah. So
one thing I wanted to point out is from the outside shot, before we go back to the inside shot of Bart's room, we see a pink sedan. Or maybe it's pink, I couldn't quite tell, but it's parked in front of the Simpson house. And I was wondering if this is just Marge's car from the intro, because we see
was it on the street or was it in the driveway?
It was on the street.
So we don't know whose car that is.
No, we don't. But I was kind of thinking, like, well, Marge, we don't know what Marge is driving. Well, we know in 82 she wasn't, or 83, 84, she wasn't driving her station wagon yet. So I was almost wondering if this was the car from that. But maybe not, because it was parked on the street.
If it's parked on the street, I'm just going to assume it's not theirs because they have a driveway and a garage.
Yeah.
So Homer built Bart a creepy clown bed.
That's such a great bed.
So creepy.
Would you sleep in that bed?
No.
I
would rather sleep in a dog kennel.
Why? Because you think the clowns will eat me?
Yes. The clown's going to get me.
Can't sleep, and so clown will eat me.
Can't sleep. And apparently this line is also later used in an Alice Cooper song.
Go Alice Cooper. Even he's a fan of The Simpsons.
Yes, well, isn't he a celebrity voice guest on one of the episodes at some point?
Yeah.
And so now we cut to Homer watching the Olympics, and he has the Olympic game card for the women's 100-meter butterfly. And so we cut to the action, and like 3 of the women basically can't swim, and the rest of them are the American women, and the American wins. And Homer's like, wow, a baby and a free burger? Could this be the best day of my life?
Now, I want to make a point that this actually, since this takes place in the past, at that point, this could be Homer's best day of his life. But we learn in Homer the Heretic that when he missed church, that was the best day of his life.
You can have more than one best day of your life.
No, best day means best day. If he said like top 5, then maybe.
Yeah.
But he said best day.
So then Marge is like, they have to go to the hospital because Marge is giving birth to Lisa. So Bart has to stay with Flanders, and Homer tells Flanders, oh, was this when he wanted, Flanders wanted the TV tray back? And he's like, shut up, Flanders. And he just slams the door in his face. I think that was right here.
Yeah, that was good.
So then Bart,
playing,
like some biblical game, and Ned, well, he is kind of a nerd. Ned serves the boys liver, and one of the boys is like, iron helps us play.
He's like, yay, iron helps us play.
Have you ever had liver? Because I don't think I have.
No. I think
Would you eat it?
No, but I think our Zadie, mom's dad, like liver. I think that was one of the things he liked. He liked a lot of weird things, sardines, anchovies, all that shit.
Gross. So now Bart is sleeping in bed with Rod and Todd, and he wants to go home. Yep. And he looks across the house and he sees his clown bed. He's like, nope. And so we get an animation error here. When Todd, Rod, and Bart are in the same bed, Rod's hair is black.
Yeah, not brown.
So then, Bart sneaks out of the room and he runs into Grandma Flanders. Kind of, what does she say? How you doing, Joe? Or
what was it? What's up, Joe? Or God, now I can't remember.
Oh my God.
Hello, Joe. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, Joe. And so now we cut to the hospital, and Lisa is born. And shortly after Lisa's birth, Homer tells her that he started a college fund for her at the Lincoln Savings and Loan. The Lincoln Savings and Loan Association was the financial institution at the heart of the Keating Five scandal during the 1980s savings and loan crisis. When American Continental Corporation, the parent of Lincoln Savings, went bankrupt in 89, more than 21,000 investors lost their savings. So Lisa is screwed.
Yep, well, we already knew that.
Yes.
We already knew that. And I think even in one of the 90s episodes, well, we are in the 90s, the early 90s episodes, did they talk about like Lisa's college fund being like little to nothing?
Yeah, I think so. So this is how it happened.
Yeah,
Homer tried to do something nice, tried to invest his money wisely, and still screwed up.
Yep. And so now we see, Marge actually have a magazine, kind of like she does with Maggie. And it's a Fretful Mother magazine.
The same. I think it's the same magazine.
Same magazine. She just held on to it for all the kids.
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, Bart might just get jealous of Lisa. I like how now that's her concern after the baby's born. And Bart's just having a crisis. He's like, I hate you. Basically, she walks in, to see the baby, and he's like, I hate you. Like he just doesn't want anything to do with him, even though his thought of having a sibling was I'm going to use you as a ramp and clean up spilled milk and blame you for things. He just doesn't want Lisa around.
It's probably because he's not getting any attention now.
Yeah.
And I feel like at 2 you're so used to being getting attention, where like when you're 4 and you're like, hey, you're gonna have a
you're more independent.
You're more understanding.
You're more independent.
Well, I was going to say understanding as well.
Or that. But yeah, I mean, so I couldn't wait for my kid to be independent playing. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I love him. I like playing with him. I like being around him. But at some point, it's like, I want to do something on my own, But so my kid is actually very independent and will go do stuff on his own, which is amazing. So I can start doing things. But he's still not at the age of, I can do stuff with him like sports and like board games and stuff like that. So he's kind of on this, I'm independent and can play, but he still can't do stuff that I want to do with him. So he's kind of in that middle. It'll be about a year, hopefully within that range of it'll be great. It'll be fun.
Yes.
So Marge saved the newspaper from the day Lisa was born, which the headline read, Mondale to Heart, where's the beef?
Which, as we all know, is the old Wendy's slogan.
Yep, and I love how, what was it, Lisa, was it Lisa or Bart's like, where's the beef? And, they're talking about Mondale's like, no wonder he won Minnesota. Yeah. I unfortunately, since I didn't live in that era, I don't quite get that joke, but.
No. Well, and Homer laughs at the slogan as well.
Yep. Where's the beef? And so Marge's sister come over to see, how Lisa's doing. And, they look in the crib. Oh, cute. And blow cigarette smoke at her, which.
Wow. Horrible people.
Yep. I mean, Marge really should have been stepped up and be like, get out of it. No smoking in the house.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I didn't notice this, but Lisa has her pearls on already.
Correct. And we'll get to this. I believe it's season 5 where she tells the kids how she got her pearls.
Yep.
And that is not how she got her pearls, because she's already had them.
Yep. So we learn now on the TV, Krusty hates everyone. He's personally going to spit in every 50th burger, and Homer's like, I like those odds. Almost like the odds of the U.S. winning Olympic gold.
Now, my question is, how does Krusty plan on spitting in burgers?
He goes to Krusty Burger. There's only one in town. I mean...
Yeah, but when people notice Krusty at Krusty Burger?
Not if he's out of makeup.
Yeah, he still looks the same. I don't know. He's never out of makeup.
Or maybe he spits on him at the plant before they get sent over to Krusty Burger.
I highly doubt that.
I don't know. You don't know how crazy Krusty is right now. He's down to do just about anything.
Yeah.
And so now Homer's watching. I love this. I mean, I love how he's just got a pile of Krusty Burger boxes lying around. This is like his best summer ever. Yeah. And so we see a gymnast, perform the perfect dismount, but broke his leg, and he screams in pain.
I love it because he lands it. You can hear the crunch, and he just goes, ah, really loud. But he stands there perfectly still.
Yep,
it's amazing.
And so amazing. next Olympic sport, boxing. And Homer has that game card, and obviously the U.S. won gold in that. And
but like in real life, they won gold in boxing.
I'm sure they did. And did they really fight Sweden? Because that's who the Simpsons say that.
I didn't look that up, but I know they won gold.
Gotcha. And
that's all that really matters.
And I love how the boxer's Dredrick Tatum, so they're bringing him back, but it's definitely not current Dredrick Tatum on what he currently looks like.
Yeah.
So it's just like they're throwing that name around just willy nilly.
Yeah.
And so obviously Homer dances and celebrates just like Dredrick Tatum is doing.
Yeah.
And then we get a Mary Lou Retton reference. And she was a gymnast in, that Olympics. And, Lisa, I love how Lisa has the reflexes of Mary Lou Retton. And I love how also Dr. Hibbert has dreads. I mean, that's...
Well, yeah, because it's the 80s.
Yep.
He's hip, he's cool, he's with it.
Yeah.
Before you know, you won't know what it is.
Yep. And so then we see Dr. Hibbert give Lisa the last lollipop. And Bart's like, can I get a lollipop? He's like, oh, we're out of them. But I do have a rubella inoculation for you.
Oh, shots.
Oh, yeah. They're the worst. I mean, we all know that. Shots are the worst right now, but we got to get them. Get them.
Yes.
Get them. Get it. Okay,
Anyways.
So I like how this part is amazing. I don't think I ever did this to you, but, Bart comes in. Oh, maybe that's a little bit too soon.
That's a little bit
too soon. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. So Bart, we cut to the living room, and Bart wants to hold the baby, and Marge's like, you're too little. Which, I mean, maybe a little bit. And Homer's like, well, you could hold my beer. And then he puts his beer on Bart's head, which, once again, oh
my God.
Is Bart's hair the way his head is, or is it bone? And
his head is
clearly flat as a table. So
yeah.
We still don't know. Yeah. All right, so now we get it. So like I said, I don't know if I did this to you, but Bart comes into Lisa's room with the scissors and gets his hair cuts Lisa's hair smooth off, and he gets punished. And this is the first time we see Bart sitting in a corner.
Yep. So yeah, I don't think you ever did that to me. I'm sure you. I mean, I don't really remember you doing too much to me in the way of pranks or like shaving my head.
Yeah.
Like, so then, I don't think you tried this either. Bart tries, puts postage stamps on Lisa and puts her in a mailbox and tries to mail her.
Stupid
gets punished
mail lady.
What
does Bart think Lisa is? Normal?
Right?
Was he trying to mail her to Abu Dhabi?
Maybe.
So
then Bart tried to leave Lisa with the Flanderses.
I mean, that's a good idea. In all honesty,
this is where Ned asks for his TV tray back.
Oh yeah.
Because he returns Maggie and he's like, "Oh, Homer, since I returned your kid, can you return my TV tray?" But Homer slams the door in his face.
Now, to be fair, I think Lisa might have been better off over at Flanders' house, but
probably.
Well,
Ned's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So then, then at that point, Bart's like, screw it. I don't like you. I'm going to run away. And as he's about to leave his room, and he has one of those hobo sacks.
Yeah.
With one of his toys. And Lisa calls out Bart's name. And he's like, oh, what did you say? Bart. So Lisa stays, or Bart stays. So Lisa's first word is Bart.
That's awesome.
And so, and then Bart's like, sufferin' succotash, which, as we all know, is Sylvester the Cat's catchphrase.
I love that Looney Tunes is in the Simpsons universe. That's awesome.
And so, Bart runs downstairs and he's like, Mom, look, Lisa said her first word and she says Bart. And Marge is like, oh, I'm not really surprised. She's crazy about you, which... I mean, I guess they spend a lot of time together, even though Bart was trying to be mean to her.
Well, all the other flashbacks we see. Remember, what was it, the Thanksgiving episode where we saw the flashbacks, and Bart gives her ice cream. And,
that's true.
As young kids, they were actually really close.
And so then Bart's like, Lisa, say mommy, and Lisa's like, mommy. Now say David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff.
That was great. That was great.
And then Homer's like, can you say daddy? Homer. Oh.
Because she hangs out with Bart enough that she knows that it's Homer, not Daddy.
And so then we cut back to present day where Bart and Lisa are fighting over a spot on the floor. And Bart's like, I wrote my name on that spot. And Marge is like, Bart. Because he did. He actually wrote his name on the floor in probably I don't know, blood. I don't know. It was red. Blood?
I don't know.
It's a lot of blood.
Permanent marker?
Probably. So then Homer is like, screw this. And he takes Maggie up to bed. And he's like, I hope you never say a word. And so, Homer closes the door. Maggie takes out her pacifier. And we hear Maggie's first word, which is daddy. And I will fight anybody, anywhere, anytime on the fact that this isn't her first word, because it is.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Daddy is her first word. No. Halloween is non-canon.
Okay.
And dream sequences don't count because those aren't real.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So daddy is her first word, which is very good because, Lisa and Bart call him Homer.
Yep. Yeah.
So
final thoughts for this episode. I mean, it's definitely not a 5 for me. I mean, it's a great episode. I'm going 4 sprinkles. I love flashback episodes. They always, hit me in the feels because I mean, especially this one. I have a kid, and a lot of this episode really does remind me of my kid at 2, my kid just being born. The first words. I mean, it really does hit a certain note to be able to watch this episode. And I'm sure the funny thing is, I bet I watched this episode early on, in the 90s, and I'm like, not the best episode, but I had nothing to compare it to. But now rewatching this episode, definitely a fantastic episode. I love Lisa's first word. So yeah, and we get our very first circus and thing, couch gag. So yeah, I'm going 4 sprinkles.
I absolutely adore this episode. I love flashback episodes for the most part. They it's backstory, but there's a lot of good gags. I think Bart walking in on his parents, quote unquote, snuggling, is all too real for a lot of kids.
Yep.
And now, thank God it never happened to me. I will say I heard sounds, and I was old enough to know what those were, so that's probably just as bad.
Yeah.
But I know, thank God I never walked in on it. But the suffering succotash, the Olympic stuff, that's great. The jokes are really good. It's not a 5. It doesn't have that, that certain thing that really turns it up to that level. It's definitely a 4. Sprinkles. It's really good. It's one of those episodes that if it comes on, I will definitely rewatch it. I don't have a kid. I obviously can't understand the emotional connection to some of the things that are happening in this episode, but I have a nephew. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who have kids. So I'm kind of connected to that too. So it's, even though it's not as much of a connection to me as it is for you or any of our listeners, it's still a really good episode. So for every sprinkles.
All right, sounds good. So let's close it off with our character profile. And this week we got Baby Bart from 1983. His residence, Lower East Side of Springfield.
Yep.
In an apartment.
Yep.
They finally moved out of Marge's house and into an apartment. So
yep.
Good enough. Siblings. Well, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. Where were they living when Maggie was born? Or not Maggie, Bart was born. Do you remember? Was it the same apartment from that episode?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. Siblings? None.
Or not yet.
No, or not yet. Level of guile. Already growing. Oh, he's going to be crazy when he gets older. Around now, 10.
Yeah.
Still 10. Favorite activities as a baby Bart: leaping on his sleeping father, smearing spaghetti all over himself, swinging naked around and around on a clothesline suspended 40 feet above the street for hours at a time.
God, that is dangerous as shit.
Just a little bit. just a little bit dangerous. But he's a daredevil. We all know Bart the daredevil.
He's a daredevil.
So, and energy is boundless.
Yes, it is.
For baby Bart, boundless is an understatement.
Correct.
All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. And as always, we're back to the future. And we'll let you know where in the future you can find us. You can check us out on our social media. On Facebook, just search Simpsons Did It Podcast. On Instagram, Simpsons Did It Pod. Twitter, Simpsons Did It PC. As always, feel free to donate to our podcast. Check us out on buymeacoffee.com/Simpsons Did It. And we'll send you some stickers in return for your kind donation. And all your donations will go towards better and more extravagant merch as the money comes in.
Yep.
So lastly, go check out our YouTube channel. Search Simpsons Did It Podcast. And listen to our podcast in video form if that's the way that you want to listen to your podcast. And it's all our old stuff. So we release everything on YouTube after the fact. So it could be like watching reruns on YouTube. Yes. So go check that out. So until next time, I'm Steven Skolansky.
I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
And this has been The Simpsons Did It.
Shh,